Why, thank you so much. Yes, wonderful. Well, it was so great to talk to you, and I'll be looking forward to talking to you again. And thank you so much for your support in this effort. You have a good weekend. Bye-bye. Hi, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Inside My Classroom. I'm Mrs. Guzman, and this is my classroom. Well, what you can see of it right now. Today, I'm going to talk to you about the parent phone call and kind of how to go about it. I've had some discussion with some colleagues recently, and I've talked to some of the other teachers that I know and some of the administrators, and they've talked to me about having that rapport with parents and being able to talk to parents about what's going on with their student and how to help their student. I must say that the parent phone call is not my favorite thing. I get extremely nervous. I'm afraid of how the parent is going to react because sometimes there is that negative connotation of, hey, the teacher is calling me about my child. What are they going to say to me? And as someone who is a parent of little Johnny, my middle son is a little Johnny, so I have had a ton of those phone calls. My little Johnny has had a stack of office referrals this big. He's been to alternative school, so I've been through a lot of these things, so I think that some of that helps me out when I'm having these parent interactions. So I wanted to kind of give you some tips on what to do. I guess as you can see on the board behind me, it says not working, needs a phone call to a parent. So sometimes I can even avoid those phone calls to the parents just by putting that on the board and letting the kids know, hey, if you're getting to the point where I have to write your name here, we need to go talk to mom and dad because I've tried all I can with you and we need to talk to mom and dad. So if it's that kind of parent phone call where I'm calling mom and dad and I need some help and I need some support because little Johnny's not doing the work, I always start with something good. And I'm sure that you've heard this, and I'm sure that sometimes it's difficult because you are already frustrated. You're at that frustrated point. You haven't been getting any work from little Johnny. And so it's hard to think of some of those nice things. So it can be just as simple as, they helped you in your classroom this week. Maybe they picked some things up. Maybe they were extra nice to another student. I find that 90% of the time when I have to make a phone call, the student has done something well. Or if it's somebody who I know, you can usually tell who the frequent flyers are going to be. So if there's somebody who's a frequent flyer, I definitely look for those things in the classroom. And so I'm always looking around to see, were they nice to that student? Did they help out? Did they maybe partner up? They didn't want to do the work, but maybe they did it this way, or they offered a solution or something, right? So I always try to call the parents when I have that. Even if I just call and leave a message and say, hey, little Johnny did a good job today. I know that sometimes they're a frequent flyer and they get these phone calls. So it might help if you knew that they were doing a good job. And so sometimes that really helps you to build the rapport. But there are times that you have to call the parent and you have to let them know that their child is not doing very well. So aside from starting with something positive, I always try to be very courteous. I was fortunate enough that I worked in a call center for many, many years. I've worked for a couple of different companies. So I know the whole shtick about, you want to put like a positive tone in your voice. I'm so sorry for bothering you today. You want to start with all of those things. Do not come at the parent with anger in your voice, anger in your tone. Yes, are you frustrated with little Johnny? Of course you are. Yes, do you need the parent to help back you up and support you? Yes. So if you need the parent to back you up and support you, then you have to come at them with understanding and with a tone that is not accusatory, because 9 times out of 10, if you're having problems at school, the parent may also be having problems at home. So they already know that little Johnny needs that extra reinforcement, that extra help to do what he or she is supposed to do. So, and you're probably not the first teacher that's called them, right? So it can be sometimes exhausting. So if the teacher calls you and says, I'm really sorry for bothering you. I understand if you're at work or if you're in the middle of something. I really needed your help with something. Let them know. This is what I've tried. I've tried to let your student do it this way or this way or this way. I usually give my students a lot of different options to show me mastery. So I can say to the parent, I've tried this and this and this. If parents like email, I usually have samples of their students' work so that I can take pictures and send an email of the student work. So I'm always trying to tell the parent that I am trying to help your child and I need you to help me help your child. So I think that is very important and very effective, so that the parent doesn't feel like you are just on the warpath and you're like, your kid is not doing what they're supposed to and they're not doing well and this and they're going to get this consequence and I'm so mad at them, blah, 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 blah. Even if you're giving the child a consequence, even if you're just calling the parent to say, hey, I'm giving your child D-Hall after school, you call the parent and say, I just wanted to let you know, little Johnny had a hard day today. These are the things that I've tried with him or her in the past and they haven't worked. So I felt like that I needed to move on to a D-Hall, and then the parent is usually understanding. I have had very few cases where the parent was extremely upset and felt like they needed to come meet with me or talk to me about something. And I'm human, and so there are some times when, I've made a mistake or thought something was going on with the child when it wasn't, and the child just hadn't been willing to tell me yet. And so when the parent tells you, that's the third thing. I think that you need to be apologetic, and you need to let the parents know, hey, I'm human. I'm sorry. I made a mistake. I didn't realize that your student was struggling with this, or this was going on at home, or this thing was happening. So I can definitely work with you and the student and make this happen. So I think that those are all really the key things. Just, try to be calm and even, try to be understanding, try to be celebratory of the child, find something good to say, and you'll find that you'll have really good parent interactions for the most part if you follow through with these things. And then keep those lines of communication open, because once you have that parent as an ally, what a great ally, right? Because I just made some phone calls today. My kids have a project due, and it's due. They've been doing it all week in class, and a lot of them aren't done, and it's due on Monday. I gave them till Monday, so they had the weekend. So I called these parents that are my allies, and I said, hey, look, your kiddo has this project due. We've been working on it all week. This is where he or she is at. If you have these supplies that they could use, or you have laptop access, or whatever their child you chose to do as the project, because I gave them a choice board. And then I just let their parents know this is where they're at and this is where they need your help, So you're involving that parent, and then you have that ally. So I hope some of this information helps you out. I hope it helps you smoothly through some of these parent phone calls, and I hope to see you again soon inside my classroom.